Epic Games hosted its usual State of Unreal briefing at DD today, and the big news for Unreal Engine developers seems to be new online services SDK, ray tracing support, and an upcoming chaos physics system, driven by Epic's experiences building out Fortnite across multiple platforms. The new online services SDK offers Unreal developers a platform-agnostic set of game networking tools that span everything from voice comms tech to analytics and matchmaking. The engine itself also gets an update, as DVSSHOULDNOW will be able to access the preview version of Unreal Engine 4.
22.
Epic says the final release is due in 2 weeks, and tells new multi-user collaboration features, performance improvements, and ray tracing as the top new features. While ray tracing remains demanding enough that only a minority of PC game players own hardware capable of taking advantage of it, that number is growing, and Epic CTO Kim Libreri the new system should be seamless. The new ray tracing system is completely compatible with our old streaming model, so assets that were built in other projects, you can take them and light them up with ray tracing, and it just works. Libreri told Gamasutra earlier this week, so there's not really a lot of backwards compatibility problems. Education for the artists is easy, because it's actually easier to ray trace than it is to rasterize. Even if you know none of your players will be able to run a ray-traced game, say, if you are making a console game, Epic claims the new system will bring you some tools and performance upgrades. One of the things we have put in the system is what we call a grounded truth path tracer, Libreri said. So a lot of the time, say you are making a modern console game, you are not gonna ray trace on that hardware. But what you can do, look at a reference image of what it would look like if it was ray traced, and then you can fake it because you know what the thing should look like. And if you just want an upgrade without having to do any work, the other side effect of building out this ray tracing stuff is that we had to re-architect a lot of the underlying engine systems for rendering. So the engine is now actually faster than it was, Libreri continued. So even if you are just using rasterizing, the engine is some percentage faster. I do not know what the specific percentage is, but it's good, and the number of job calls we can handle now is much bigger as well. So it actually was worth doing for existing games. So an existing game built on Unreal Engine 4. If they take these new updates and recompile, they should get some benefits from it. On the physics front, Libreri promises that a new chaos physics system will be previewed in Unreal Engine 4. 23 that X much are capable of handling real-time destruction on a large scale, with a revamped interface aimed at making everything easier to implement. We are trying to make it so that everything can be done within Unreal Engine. So fracturing the building, setting up the physical properties, etc., can all happen within the engine. Libreri said. So there's going to be a whole new class of tools for setting that stuff up, assigning all the properties, running the simulations. If you want to bake a simulation, because it's going to have to play on a PlayStation, and you cannot possibly have a whole building interactively destroy itself, that will be there. But it's just new tools, and we are going to try and make them very nice and simple to use. He continued. In fact, if anything, there's a lot of predictability with the current physics systems in the engine that we are also proceeding with this stuff. So one of the goals was more scalability. So you can scale on really high-end hardware, more intuitiveness, more predictability, and more realism. So all these things actually make it easier to use physics in a game, while the chaos physics system will make it far. 23 debut with support for rigid body dynamics and integration with the engine's new Niagara particle system. Library says Epic already has plans for what to update it with as it moves towards a final release. What we will do over the next year is we will put vehicles on this system. We will add ragdoll as well. That needs to be put in there, he added. But it's cool. We just want to see what people do with it, and help them take it to the next level. A member of the UK Parliament is calling for the government review of revamp after it was removed from Steam. As reported by Variety, Hannah Bardell called the game utterly abhorrent material, and implored the government to commit to getting around the table and sorting this issue for good. This comes following Valve's decision to remove the game from the storefront after it was released fit for the PLATF around due to the fact that it possessed unknown cost-systemed risks. Revamp is a 3D visual novel that centers around committing violence and assault against women during a zombie apocalypse, with developer Desk Plant encouraging players to verbally harass, kill, and rape women as they choose to progress the story. For the most part, Valve says anything that is not illegal, a straight-up trolling, is given the green light, but notes in yesterday's statement that their policies surrounding similar content rate should be reactionary. A game of this nature has no place in our society, Bardell said while speaking before Britain's Digital Culture, Media and Sport Committee earlier today. I am glad that it has been pulled by gaming site Steam, but their response was woeful. It did not even accept or acknowledge the risk it could pose. Bardell's call for a government review in Parliament to strengthen the legislation around this area was supported by First Minister of the Scottish Parliament Shona Robison. For any online gaming platform to allow the publishing of a so-called game which glorifies the killing and raping of women would be disgusting and deeply offensive, Robinson said. It is not entirely clear what a government review might look like since Valve is a privately owned company based in the United States. What measurements might be put into place as a result? The Federal Trade Commission will begin digging into the issue of loot boxes by hosting a public workshop on the subject later this year. As reported by Variety, FTC Chairman Joseph Simons detailed the plan in a letter to Senator Maggie Hassan, who back in November 2018 called on the organization to investigate the controversial monetization technique. I think it is time for the FTC to investigate these mechanisms to ensure children are being adequately protected, and to educate parents about potential addiction and other negative impacts of these games, she commented at the time. In his response, Simons explained he shares Hassan's concerns, but could not go into specifics when discussing any non-public law enforcement efforts. That said, he was keen to talk up the potential impact the FTC's planned workshop might have. We are currently planning a public workshop on loot boxes for later this year as one non-law enforcement option. Here, the workshop could provide a forum for stakeholders representing wide-ranging perspectives, including consumer advocacy organizations, parent groups, and industry members. It also could help elicit information to guide subsequent consumer outreach, which could include a consumer alert. While the FTC is taking its first tentative steps, regulators in other countries such as Belgium, South Korea, and the Netherlands have already begun cracking down on loot boxes, and in some cases, have even banned them outright. Others, however, have defended the practice, with the ESRB and the ESA refuting the notion that loot boxes constitute gambling largely because, in most cases, they have no real-world value and always contain some form of prize. Hassan, meanwhile, claims the FTC's workshop is a step in the right direction, but has encouraged the outfit to work towards making meaningful improvements. I appreciate the FTC's continued engagement on the issue of loot boxes, particularly in regards to the well-being of young gamers. She owed Variety